Today on the workbench, I've got something different here. This is a Hornby passenger coach, and I got 3 of these to go with the GT3. Actually, I've been pulling them around with my little Thomas the Tank engine. But anyway, these are just as simple as they can be. There's nothing in them. They do have an interior in them, but other than that, you know, that's really it. There's no power pickups on them. Very little underframe detail, but they do pull pretty nice. But what we're going to do today is put an ESU lighting board in that. There you can see the number of that. And with the board, we're going to put one of these. It's a lighting strip power pack, and I know that's kind of bright there, but you can see the number for that, and it's just a little capacitor there that you can see. So we'll have that, and then to get power, we'll use these. This is a 50707. Let me take that out of the. Yep. So that 50707 is for the lighting. But that'll be the 3 things that we're using. There's really nothing to these. They're not that complicated. The hardest thing is getting them apart. So let's go ahead and we'll start on that. I'm looking for my little plastic pry tool. What these have, there's 2 little plastic clips up here in the front. Those 2 little, I'll call them white, but they're not white. They're like an almond color. You just have to squeeze them together and then press out. Let me see if I can do this on camera here. What I'm trying to do, I'm pulling out on the frame with my thumb while simultaneously pushing out that way. So there's that one released. Now I'm going to go through this side here, and I'll push in on these little clips. Actually, if I had 3 hands to do this. We'll put something in there just so that won't fall back in, and that'll probably help it. Okay, so those released. Now I can there. So got that all. Now I need to get this one. Okay. So there's the bottom of our car. And then this will just pull right out. And then these windows in here, they'll just come right out, no biggie. Put it in there backward. So there's the car body. Some stuff out of the way there. And I will take them before I put this back together. I'm gonna put some passengers in it. Just because passenger cars should have some passengers in them. So the first thing we want to do is put on our power pickups, and I'll leave the trucks on the frame itself. And just see them. Okay. So I've got those two out. And I'm just going to super glue them. They'll just go basically right in there. So we might as well get to that. This is a little bit of activator. And I'll do that on both sides of that. Do it on these. And then we'll get out our super glue. So there's one in place. Well, every time I get it where I want it, I pull it off. Okay. So there we've got our pickups on. I am going to take a little bit of, let me put my cap back on my glue, some accelerator, and that way we can get those set. I just take a little drop. Put on each one. So those are all set. Now we have to drill a hole up through to get our wiring up through. So to do that, get out a little pair of pliers here. These just they just snap in, so you can take and push them together. And that'll pop right out. And those still roll really well, even with that little bit of resistance. So, anyway, to drill this hole, I've got a 1/16 inch bit. I'll do this off camera here. So I've just taken and drilled a couple small holes. You can see those right in there. Take a X-Acto knife here and clean those burrs out. I've got a steam engine sitting on my track. That's what you can hear in the background. I've installed one of the Blue Nami decoders in it, and so they've just come out with the Android app. So, and that Android app works really, really well. I've put it on a phone, 2 tablets, and yeah, it works like it's advertised. It's still in beta testing right now, so it doesn't have the full functionality. I can't consist with it. I do have a couple steam locomotives I put it in. Anyway, yeah, it does work really well. So now we've got our trucks done. Let me get that out of the way. We'll move these back here. Let me get some wire out. This is an ESU wire. It's really thin. I think it's 32 gauge. And the one side of this has to be really, really long. to make it up and over the seats to the lighting board. So I'm going to pull out quite a bit here. Got these zip ties on this bundle of wire. So that ought to be plenty for that. Hopefully that'll be plenty for everything. So I'm going to go ahead. Get the soldering iron turned on. And then we'll start cutting and or putting some flux on, tinning the wires. So let's heat it up. Do that. Let me run this other side through. And I am going to have to take that solders over that hole a little bit. Hopefully that moved it out enough. So I may have to take, instead of fighting that, I'm going to take a little drill bit and just hit that just a little bit. Just to try to so I'll do that off camera. Okay, so I wired this first one up and I didn't end up going through the holes. I just went behind it there a little bit, down through up into the main. So now this one I'm going to wait for a few minutes before I do anything with it. I'll take and run these wires. Run those through there. Okay, so we've got that. So the bad part about these things is you have to run the wiring over top, because if they would have had this channel right here all the way down through, it would be great. Of course, they do give you room right there to, let me do this. You can run your wire up through this hole, without getting caught on everything. So there. We run it right through there and then over top like that. So that's what we'll end up doing. Pull that out for now. Go ahead and bring this over. Get this board out. There's really nothing to these. It will have to be cut to length. And I will modify, well, I'm not going to modify it, but I'm going to pull all the existing wires off of it. So you can see if I lay that in there, it's one length too long. So I can cut, these are made to be cut right along that line right there. And this is just a pair of track cutters. Save that little section, we might use that for something at some point. So now that'll sit right down in there. And we'll use double-sided tape to fasten that in with. But right now, we'll pull all the wires off of this. That blue and brown one are for red marker lights that I'm not going to use. So yeah, I'm going to have plenty here of wire, but I'm not going to cut that. I'll go back to my black wire. I need to get out my capacitor. And these do have a positive and negative side to them. Let's see, if you're reading the writing on this, and of course you can see the triangle there, the bottom, the long part of the triangle, that's the positive side. So I'm going to take and connect a little wire to this. That way I can have it basically run over into an empty space. Otherwise, I'll probably have to modify the coaches. So we'll cut us a piece of wire here. Actually, I'm going to cut two. One for and I have bent that. So there's one side of it. Now we'll get this side. Cut that in half. And I'm going to hit that again because I don't like that little nub sticking up there. Okay. There's that. I am going to put a couple pieces of heat shrink over that. Okay. Alright, there's the capacitor made up. And I didn't cut that one long enough to do anything with. Well, I didn't cut it for both sides, let's say that. So now we'll go ahead and strip and tin the pickup wires. For the other truck. Okay. So there's that. Run those wires. I'm really not sure why I waited on that. That was unnecessary. Okay, so there we've got that snapped back in. Cut that excess off. Now I will, before I put this in, I will put the passengers on it. It'll make it easier to do. That way it won't be, because it doesn't really fasten down. So I'm going to do that now and then I'll be back. Okay, I've put, let's see, about a dozen people in that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Well, I've got 11 people in it. And it's just really a, representation. Not a lot of detail to them, some pretty plain colors. A lot of people like to travel by themselves. And they may not be perfectly to scale, but they do, like I say, they represent passengers. So now, let's go back to our lighting board. We'll get our coach top. And we'll go ahead and put some double-sided tape on this, and I'll clean this with some alcohol. And don't need a lot. Pull that out. So that'll give that a chance to dry for a minute. And I'll at least put the tape on it, but I am not going to stick it in there yet. I really like this 3M VHB tape. Does a great job. So we've got that. Now I can take the capacitor here, and we'll see if I put this here. That's going to set that about there. I'll run that long enough to where the capacitor will come over into that little compartment here. That ought to be plenty. So let's pull that back out. And then these go, there's two little pads there, a positive and a negative on that. And out of the way. Make sure that we've got our positive wire. And our negative wire. Clean that off a little bit. Now you can adjust the brightness of these lights right here, a little screw, but from the factory they come out, they're really good, so we don't have to do any of that. Leave that off for a second. Pull this back out. So now this is where it starts to become a pain. Like I say, if this coach interior fastened down, it would be great. If it had snaps or something, because I don't want to glue it. So that'll be that. That'll be that. Now we'll take and trim these off. Get them all tinned up. Before I fasten them down, I'll put a piece of heat shrink on them to get them, to make sure that they're together. Yeah. And it's a little neater. So we'll cut a few pieces here. There's that one. So let's go ahead, get the next one. And I'm not going to cut and tin these yet. But I will at least have them put together. And I'll do one more. So there's my one more. Now, I'm going to cut this. I'll leave myself enough room to be able to remove the cab. And I'll do one side of it, and then I'll show you why here in a second. And then we can tin this side up. Okay. Now all we got to do is wire it together. So this front side, I'm not too worried about which side is which. Okay. So there's the front side with the pickups on. Now I'm going to get out my meter. And I'm going to check this. To see which side I have stripped here. And if you wanted to, you could just make these the same color. So that's that side of the wheel. So now I want to find whichever one is on this side. So it goes right here. Okay, and then we can tin this side, and we'll be ready to put this board in and close it up. Okay. So there's our wiring in. Now, pull my double-sided tape off. This may not be the most graceful of demonstrations, but the end result is it works. Pull this over to me a little bit. Okay. So now there's everything installed. I'm going to go ahead and test it. And then when I come back, of course, I'll put it all together. And when I come back, it'll be up on the test track. All right, I'll be back. All right, so I've got these coaches completed. And the one I just did on the video that I put together is at the very end of this train. But I thought I'd just kind of do a run by here with the GT3 pulling these 3 coaches. So let's get it moving here. I'll slow it down. You can see the coaches, they're all lit up. And I'll stop it here on the coach that we just did. So let's go to that. I'll turn those lights off, and I've got them all set to number 3, but I'll turn that on. And I did set the function output to like a neon light. So yeah, there's really nothing to these. That's basically it. You know, on and off. And so they would turn it off again. There it's on. But nothing special about them, just a simple lighting package. Really simple to install. So I'm going to turn the camera here and kind of, here's this one in the center. So I'll turn these lights off again. And I've got that one set up to where it'll dim and flicker. But you can also take, and there are different, you can do different sections and individually control those sections. So that's kind of interesting. And then there's one, you know, you can hit one button and it turns everything on and off. So that's that. And then we've got this final car here. And you can kind of see a glimmer of the passengers there. So I'll take and I'll move this forward again. Yeah, that's our lighting car in a nutshell, with some steam in the back. But yeah, pretty simple project. There's some, you can see some of the people in there. So I think these came out really nice for what they are. And we'll call this project complete. So thanks for watching.